Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Prudent Preservations. My name's Valerie, and it is Saturday morning, and I'm up early. The whole house is asleep, and my kids love Frappuccinos. This is not my thing, but I thought this morning I would give it a go on making some and then maybe canning some. Now, all of the alphabet agencies, and what I mean by that is all of the governing bodies for canning, are going to tell you that, you know, dairy is a no-go. You don't can dairy. But I do sometimes can dairy. You do need to make sure that you're canning it in a safe way, and so I don't typically can something that isn't pasteurized. That doesn't mean that I don't pasteurize it myself at home. You can pasteurize your own milk, but today I have just regular whole milk that I bought at the store, and it's been pasteurized, and it's going to be what we use today. I don't typically usually buy whole milk either, but for the purpose of this, I thought that whole milk would be better. So I'm going to make some espresso. I've already made some, and it's in the refrigerator, and it's cooling down. Most people would tell you that you want it to be cold, but I don't want a freeze. I don't want one of those iced drinks where it's mostly ice, like a slushie. I actually want a drink. So I don't want it to be hot, so I've got it in the refrigerator, but I don't really want it to be super cold because I'm not going to put ice in it. I'm just going to blend it up until it's thick, thicker than water. I've got some xanthan gum. I might add that. That kind of helps to bind it up so that it would not separate. The coffee and the milk might separate, and so the xanthan gum should help with that theoretically. I've never canned this Frappuccino, so we'll see how that goes. Right now, I'm just going to make some more espresso because I've got about 4 shots of espresso in the refrigerator. I'm going to do about 8 because I'm going to fill up my blender with milk the rest of the way. Because it's for my kids, I don't want it to be super strong, so it's going to be a lot of milk. So I've already got my, I had some grounds. I'm going to throw these away because I've already used them. And I'm going to add some more. Now, I said throw away. I really shouldn't say throw away. We actually have a composter, and so that's where those things go. We're just going to fill this back up. If you don't have an espresso maker, you can just use coffee. I'm just using espresso because I want to get the most that I can in the blender, and this is going to give it the most coffee flavor. Okay, while that's brewing, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the ingredients going, and then I'll just add that to it if it needs it. We're going to play that by ear. Okay. So here is my 4 shots of espresso. Okay. So I've got my 4 shots of espresso. I'm going to add about a cup of milk to see how that goes. And the reason I'm blending it is I want kind of like a frother. I want it to get a bit thick so that it can kind of thicken and bind with the coffee. I've also got xanthan gum and my favorite. That's the good stuff. So I do make my own vanilla extract, and it's not the traditional way as far as I dice my vanilla beans. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got them diced up in there, and I know that's not the way that most people do it, but I got tired of being worried about having the vanilla beans up in the air, so that's what I do. The great thing about cooking and being in your own kitchen is it's your own kitchen. You can do what you want. So if you make your own vanilla extract and you do it in a different way, I would love to hear about it. But for me, I just dice them up, and that's worked well for me. So we're going to add about a cup of milk to our 4 shots of espresso. And we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of sugar. That looks about the right consistency. That's about the right color for a Frappuccino. So before we make any more, we're going to make sure this tastes okay. For me, this is great. It's pretty strong coffee flavored, so I'll probably add some extra milk, because for my kids that's probably going to be strong. And I say kids, I'm talking about a 14-year-old that really likes to drink it. So we're not talking about me giving coffee to a 1-year-old, just so we know. Now, I'm going to add the rest of my espresso. I'm going to add another cup of milk. And then we're probably going to add a little bit of xanthan gum so that it doesn't separate. It was still a little too hot, but it'll be okay. So basically we're just going to double what we did. 4 more shots of espresso, a couple more tablespoons of sugar, another cup of milk, and probably a little bit more this time. So we've got in here 8 shots of espresso, 4 tablespoons of sugar, and 2.5 cups of milk. I'm also going to add the tiniest bit of xanthan gum. And my vanilla extract. How much? You let your heart decide. I love this blender. It's attached to my mixer and I love it. I sure wish it had a pour spout. That would make things just a little bit better. I would like it just a little bit more. So you can see now I've added that xanthan gum and there's less separation. It's bounded up a bit, and so it's made it not something that's just going to separate and come apart. It's still probably going to do it a little bit, not as much. This is good. So now what I'm going to do is see if we can some of it. I'm going to make more of it so that we've got enough to can. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how I'm going to try to can it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start filling up some of the jars with my drink. I'm going to use WEC jars today. I don't often use them, but in this instance, well, let me show you. So I've had them in hot water to get them ready for the canner. They look like the drink bottles that the kids get from the store. And so this is what I'm going to use today. I'm going to get a funnel. This funnel barely fits. So these WEC jars have these reusable lids. And here at Prudent Preservations, we are all about sustainability. And so in this case, I am going to use these WEC jars. I love the fact that we can reuse these lids. They're glass and they're not like the ball jars where, technically you should not reuse them. I have on occasion reused them, but I do not. Most of the time I just get a new lid. I have found that I've got a little bit of issues with seal when I reuse the lid. So this looks pretty good. I feel like the foam is going to die down and it's not going to be as full as it is right now when we're done. But see, these seal pretty well. Obviously, they're not canned right now, so they're not sealed actually, but they sure do look like the things that they get at the store. We're gonna finish filling up our jars, then we'll start on the canner. I have this, it's not a paper towel, it's a reusable paper towel, basically. And so I'm just gonna wipe the rims of each of these before I put the lid on. And these are weck jars, so they're a little different than the ball jars or the regular jars that people, you know, a lot of the people in the US use. I do not use vinegar when I am doing anything that's milk-based. I don't really think that it makes it curdle, but I also find that using vinegar doesn't. I've got a funnel. I've not gotten a lot on the rim in the first place, and so I don't use vinegar because I don't want to risk degrading the seal. So I just don't a lot of the time. Now, if I've made a mess of things or I'm using a meat and it's greasy, then I will use the vinegar because I need the extra abrasiveness to kind of clean the rim and make sure that there's a good seal. So all we're gonna do with this weck jar, it's got this, I love these things. They've got this glass lid, it's reusable, and this rubber gasket. We just put it on the top, and they have these little clips like this, and they just clip right onto the jar. And that's it. So this one is ready for the canner. So I'm gonna finish putting the lids on all of these, and then we'll go over to the canner and we'll can them. We're gonna pressure can them. I'm not gonna pressure can them for a long time. I'm actually just going to bring it up to 10 pounds of pressure and then release it and let it come back down naturally. So I have a lot of different types of canners, and I have a video that discusses the different uses of canners. And so in this instance, I am using the full-blown all-American canner. I'm not using a digital walk-away canner because they would never allow for what I'm going to do with these. And sometimes I don't want those rules enforced upon me. And so the all-American is great for that. So in this instance, it's all-American all the way. And we'll go through that when I get to that point after I put all the lids on these, and I'm gonna scoop off the foam because I don't know if you can see. So there's a bit of foam here, and you can see I can just scoop it off. There's not much, but I'm gonna scoop that little bit of foam off just because I don't like it in there. And then we're gonna can them, and you guys can follow along for that. Okay, so we've got our jars, our weck jars. They're in our pot. They're in our all-American canner. And I'm just gonna put the lid on, and all I'm gonna do is bring this up to temperature. I'm gonna bring it up to 10 pounds of pressure, and then I'm gonna take it down. And here directly, we're gonna see some steam coming out of the spigot there, this spout right here. And I've got my weight. Here, it says 10 pounds of pressure. So for my altitude, that is what I want to use. I want to bring it up to 10 pounds of pressure for my altitude. If you're in a different area, if you're higher than I am, you might have to use 15. So I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but we've been steaming for about 10 minutes. And so I'm going to put my pressure gauge on at that 10 pounds of pressure mark. And as soon as it comes up to 10 pounds of pressure on my gauge, I'm going to turn off all the heat, and we're going to be done. And it's just going to come down to temperature, and I'm going to take them out of the canner. Okay, so we have come down. We've cooled down. So we're just going to take off our regulator. our jiggler. Now I can see that we've had some siphoning. But so long as they seal, that's going to be fine. We'll just wash that off. And if they don't seal, then that's a different thing. So you can see on the sides of these jars where the liquid siphoned out as it got hot and then cooled down. They all siphoned just a little bit, and so next time I would probably leave more headspace. I would probably err on the side of about an inch headspace next time I do this, which would probably help to prevent that. With weck jars, they aren't as easy to tell that they have sealed because you don't hear that ping because the jars are made of glass. But you can still tell that they have sealed. When I take these lids off, the tab here is pointed downward. And that's a real good indication that it's sealed. And I do see that across the board, every jar I've pulled out, the tab is pointing down. So most likely they've all sealed just fine. But we're not going to test that seal because some of them, you can see here, some of them are still bubbling. Which is perfectly fine. This is very normal. And so we're just going to leave them alone. And when they're sealed, then we can mess with cleaning them up. And then we'll give them a try. I just wanted to take a minute for you guys to see what I mean when I say I'm washing my jars. If you are having to babysit that seal because you're afraid it's going to come unsealed, you don't want it anyways. So when I say I'm washing my jars, I mean I am putting them in the sink and giving them a good go. So wash your jars. It does a couple of things. It cleans the outside of them so there's nothing that's going to cause any issues later on. And also, if you have a false seal, you're going to find out really quick. These things aren't going to hold air. Okay, so they're out of the canner, and I've got this one, it's cleaned off, and I've put it in the refrigerator so that it's nice and cold. And I was just going to show you how these little tabs come off. You just pop them off right here on the sides, the little clips. They're what's holding the lid on while it cans. So you can tell because I can hold it by the lid and it's still sealed. This tab is pointing downward, and so those are the indicators for a weck lid that it's sealed. And so to unseal it, all I need to do is pull that tab to break the seal, and you can hear the air release. And now it's just open. So let's see what it tastes like. It didn't separate, so that I think that xanthan gum helped with that. So it looks just like one of those iced coffee drinks that you would get at the store, like a Frappuccino, iced Frappuccino. And it looks just like that in my cup. And it tastes just like it. I am really pleased with how this turned out. I'm going to have to make more of these for sure. Tastes just like those ice drinks that you get at the gas station or the convenience store, except for it didn't cost me $3, $4, $5. So save your money. Make them and count. So, final verdict. These are amazing. They're wonderful. if you're a canner, even if you're not a canner, these were simple. These were simple to make. You could make them and just not can them. You could just drink them. These are great. I just wanted to come back and show you guys what they looked like when they were done, when they were washed. I took the little tabs off, and see these still point downwards to show that it's sealed. You also want to always check it, make sure that it's sealed. You can pick it up by its lid so that you know that it's got a good seal. I've checked all of these to make sure that they've all got good seals. Some things I would do differently next time, some things I will do differently because I will absolutely be doing these again. Some of the things that I will do differently is I will give a bit more head space, probably about an inch head space. I don't think I gave quite enough head space, so there was siphoning, which made it a little bit more difficult for me to wash the jars. If there's no siphoning, it's not that hard to wash the jars. And you guys saw me washing the jars. I don't play around with that. They get washed. And also, I did notice that some of the milk actually caramelized. And I don't know that I would change that. I don't know if you can see it here. This one has a bit of caramelization. Right there, if you can see. Just on the rim. And some of them have a bit more caramelization inside of the jar, which is fine. It's just, I don't know that I would change anything. It's just something that I noticed that happened. But otherwise, these taste great. You can stick them in the refrigerator and you can just drink them when they're cold. I mean, you don't even need ice, really. These are wonderful. Definitely something I'm going to continue to do. I actually had, I think, 2 more. I think I had 7 of these small ones. And I am down to 5. And it is one day. So, definitely something I'll have to can more of. And I do have these 2 big ones also. So definitely give this a try. This was absolutely worth doing. Let me know in the comments. How did it go for you?